All right. Okay. So good morning, everyone, and good evening to our partners in Israel. Welcome and thank you for joining this. It's actually a meeting, it's an event, but it's more like a meeting because everyone will be engaged and will ask questions and share information. My name is Moran Zilberstein. I'm the Israeli Consul for Economic Affairs here on the West Coast. My office is based in San Francisco and covers 17 states on the West Coast, Midwest, and Southwest areas. A little bit about my office. We operate here as the innovation arm of the Israeli government, connecting Israeli companies with US-based companies and trying to generate win-win collaboration between the two. We also help Israeli companies establish presence here in the United States and operation. And we also have a very easy access as the government to all the innovation ecosystem in Israel. So please reach out if you need our help in anything. We will be happy to be a resource for you. I'm very honored and excited to open today's meeting or event. It will be focused on government financial support programs for deployment of Israeli technologies in Nevada, a topic that I think is even more crucial today with the economic crisis caused by COVID. I think it's really important to share that Israel sees Nevada as a major economic player on the West Coast. The amount of businesses that we see that have begun expanding to Nevada and the thriving tourism industry in Las Vegas, I think sets Nevada to become one of the top performing states in the country in terms of economic development. And we see a lot of great economic relations between Nevada and Israel, and still I think there's a lot of unrealized potential that I hope this event will try and open a few doors for more successful collaborations in the future. I would also like to thank our partners that made this event happen. I would like to thank Nissim and Michael from the Nevada Innovation Center. I would like to thank Maya from the Bird Foundation and Ufar from the Innovation Authority. Before we begin, a little bit of housekeeping rules. This meeting, this is a setting of a meeting, so everyone can speak and be engaged, and we invite you to join the conversation and ask questions and share your feedback. If you do wish to speak, you can just raise your hand and unmute yourself and speak. You can also use the chat if you prefer, and we will raise the question or your feedback on your behalf. That's it. Without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce our partner in this event, Nissim Ezekiel, co-founder of Nevada Innovation Center. I think a lot of people on this call already know you. Nissim, so the virtual stage is yours. Thank you very much and have a fruitful event. Thank you.
Listen, thanks, Moran, for your very helpful introduction and positive comments. Certainly to everyone, welcome on behalf of Michael Saltman and myself as Nevada Innovation Center LLC, or NIC as we are generally referred to. As many of you know, Michael and I have long associations with Israel and Nevada, and Michael's presence here in the state runs significantly longer than mine, so he knows the state and business and government exceedingly well. Over 2.5 years ago, both of us saw an opportunity to create a technology bridge between Nevada and Israel. Israel as a startup nation is well known. I don't need to say much more about it. Perhaps Nevada's role as a hub for technology is less known. So now, in partnership with the West Coast Mission, we have come a long way, as Moran said. I think over 15 companies, probably more, have already actually deployed technology commercially in pilot phases. And there are many more that we're exploring additional opportunities in March and April until things slow down for reasons we all know. Most importantly, I think from a Nevada economic development standpoint, the first two major Israeli companies are seriously exploring location and industrial facilities in the state. And I know for people like Goed and the city of Las Vegas, these are important developments to actually locate economic activity here. We have worked closely with most of the major institutions and individuals on the call today. Just to summarize, state and city governments, public agencies, universities, the Vegas Chamber, and major private companies who are closely associated with bringing technology and innovation to Nevada. I should add that many of them and many of the individuals who are representing these institutions have traveled with us to Israel more than once in some cases. But I think jointly we face the challenge of what I call accelerating innovation in the age of coronavirus. I don't need to elaborate on those issues here, but I think from Michael and my standpoint, and I know Moran feels the same way, that challenges create opportunities. And it is that positive objective which is, I think, at the heart of our discussion today, as we hear in detail from the Bird Foundation and the Israel Innovation Authority. I'm thrilled that so many key institutions and individuals are on the call. And I'd just like to start the presentations and go ahead and introduce Ms. Maya Vardi Shoshani from the Bird Foundation, Director of Business Development, West Coast, USA. Maya, it's all yours.
Thank you, Nissim, and thank you, Michael, for this opportunity to present Bird to the Nevada institutions and companies. This is a great opportunity, and we would like to see more activities coming from Nevada. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So let me start. So I would like, for those of you who are not familiar with Bird, I would like to introduce myself and the Binational Industrial R&D Fund. I am the West Coast Director for Bird. I'm based in California in the Silicon Valley. Bird is a fund that was established back in the 70s. We received an endowment from both governments. We are 50% owned by the US government, with the goal of promoting innovation and collaboration between American and Israeli companies. We do that by providing funding for joint R&D projects between American and Israeli companies. Before I go into our process, I wanted to show you who is on our board that is represented by the two governments. So we have two co-chairmen. On the Israeli side, we have the chief scientist, who is also the chairman of the Israeli Innovation Authority that we will hear from next. And from the US side, we have the assistant secretary for science and technology from NIST, from the Department of Commerce. And then we have the State Department and the Treasury and the Israeli equivalents. So we've been quite successful over the years. We have funded over $360 million for about 1,000 projects that we have approved. In repayments, we managed to receive $111 million from that original endowment that we received in the 70s. And we have generated about $10 billion directly and indirectly from the projects that we funded. These are the sectors that we invest in. So you can see that we are pretty diverse. We are agnostic to sector and through our general program. And we invest in all innovative technologies besides defense. And specific military applications. So what do we actually do? We facilitate introductions. We are like matchmakers. We work closely with Moran and her team in the economic mission to help introduce companies to each other. Then if those matches, if they turn into projects and they apply to us, we can potentially fund them. Using the endowment. So we can fund up to 50% of their combined R&D expenses without taking any IP rights or equity. So this is non-dilutive funding. We share the risk without having an upside. Who can apply? It depends on the program. We have a few different call for proposals that I'll describe in a minute and I'll show you. In our general program, we can fund two unrelated companies, one from the US and one from Israel. It can be a subsidiary. In our two special programs, Bird Homeland Security and Bird Energy, we can also fund a collaboration between a company and a university or a research institute. It is a competitive process, and we can fund up to $1 million per project to cover 50% of the R&D expenses of the two companies. The funding is divided according to the work share, where each partner needs to do a significant part of the work and the innovation, and it should be at least 30%, 70%, if not 50-50. We get repayments only if the project is successful and generates sales. but those repayments are capped and non-dilutive. So this is, for example, the current call for proposals that was, the deadline was now in September. The next cycle will be in March. We have 2 of these every September and March. The process takes about 4 months from the submission to decisions, where we invite companies and there is a list of technologies, but it is an open list. So we invite companies that are developing innovative technologies to come and submit an executive summary. We try to make it worthwhile for the companies to submit the executive summary and the proposal. And we try to bring the success rate in final proposal stage to about 40 to 50%. So we have this initial screening in the executive summary stage, and that is a very short document that doesn't take a long time to write. We also provide feedback on the drafts, on documents. So we always encourage companies and institutions applying to reach out to us for an open dialogue and assistance with the document writing. This is an example of our bird energy call for proposals that was published in 2020. The deadline was in June. This is a program that was funded back in 2009 for renewable energy and energy efficiency and related technologies. This is funded by the Department of Energy, the Israeli Ministry of Energy, and the Israeli Innovation Authority. I always recommend, if companies or universities are not sure if they are eligible, to talk to us. We can find out, or to ask our stakeholders. In 2016, we started a new program that is funded by the Department of Homeland Security and the Israeli Ministry of Public Security for Homeland Security technologies. This call is also issued once a year. The deadline was in August. Decisions will be in December. There is an executive committee that will make the decision on who to award. That is by the stakeholders, the Israeli Ministry of Public Security and the DHS. So what do we actually look for? We have professional reviewers from NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and from the Israeli Innovation Authority that review the proposals after the final proposal is submitted. They're looking for a high level of innovation. They look for good synergy between the companies, and that means that there is either good complementary technologies or a challenging but good integration of one technology into the system of the other. Sometimes it can be a pilot project, and I think that there are a lot of opportunities in Nevada for such collaborations. They're looking to see if the companies can identify that there is a good market opportunity, and if they can quantify it, and if they can demonstrate that they have a commercialization strategy and a know-how how to get to market. So why do companies come to us? Obviously because of the funding. We provide non-dilutive funding, but we also share the risks, which is crucial, especially when projects are innovative and challenging. There is a validation and a stamp of approval by the review of NIST and the Israeli Innovation Authority. We know that participation in our process helps companies in raising funds and in commercialization. And we see that there is a joint commitment during the project, and it accelerates time to market. Of course, as I'm talking to a lot of government entities, I think it is important to emphasize that there are other metrics than just sales and repayments as parameters for success. So we are also looking at jobs created, at companies setting offices in US and vice versa, export, capital raise, merger and acquisition. So there is a larger impact than just the small project that the companies are making. I wanted to take this opportunity and also tell you about a new program that we manage through the US-Israeli Energy Center. This is a program that is funded by the US DOE, the Israeli Ministry of Energy, and the Israeli Innovation Authority. It is different than the regular BIRD model. This is for consortiums, at least 2 entities from each side, in 4 different topics. 3 of them, the fossil energy, the energy storage, and the energy water nexus, were already decided, but now there is the open call for proposals for the energy cyber and physical security for energy infrastructure. We are looking for the development of tools and technologies for cyber, and if there are research institutes, universities, national labs, utilities, and commercial companies that are interested, I'd be happy to talk to them. We can connect them to consortiums that are being formed right now in the US and in Israel. And we are currently looking for companies. It is different than BIRD. It is a grant with no repayments for $6 million with the potential for additional $4 million. So for 3 to 5 years. And I'd be happy to elaborate if there will be interest on a private conversation. The deadline for that is in November. So in Nevada, currently we have funded 3 projects. We will hear today from Avisite and Manam application that developed an unmanned bridge survey and remote diagnostic tool. They won their grant in 2018. We also have funded a project in 2014 and in 2016 by Dynamis and BrightSource through Bird Energy. I really hope to see more projects coming from Nevada, and this is the goal for me in this call, to see if you can think of relevant institutions or companies that we should talk to, or if you can connect them to us, share the call for proposals. We can help them find a partner together with Moran and her team. We'd be happy to talk to them. This is my contact information. We have all the call for proposals on our website, and I encourage you to reach out to me. And I'd like to introduce the next speaker, the BIRD project, the use case of a great collaboration between Israel and Nevada, the company Avisite and Manam Application. And I would like to invite Michael Pretches to speak. The CEO and co-founder.
Hello, thank you so much, Maya. Good morning, everybody. I have to excuse me, my voice is a little rough this morning, but I'll try to get through it. So I'll be sharing a presentation here with everybody while we do our introductions, and bear with me. So again, I'm Mike Frechette. I'm the co-founder of Avisite. Avisite was born here in Nevada just over 5 years ago this month. So we just celebrated our 5th anniversary. The 2 founders, myself and Michael, and the other co-founder, plus our founding employees, primarily came from the U.S. military's drone program, and had the privilege to work alongside the Nevada Institute of Autonomous Systems and some of the other great resources here in the state of Nevada. With that, I'd like to introduce Gilad from Manam, and he'll talk a little bit about Manam applications, and we'll have a few slides for you.
Yeah. Well, shalom. My name is Gilad Shlush, and I'm the founder and the CEO of Manam Applications. I'm an experienced civil engineer, more than 20 years now. Served in the Israeli army for many years as a lead software developer for strategic use. Here in Manam and together with Avisai during the project, we developed a professional unlike solution, drone-based bridge inspection and analysis for the infrastructure industry. Like Avisai, Manam application is 5 years old, so we're quite similar. And we have a very good relationship during the project. And Mike, you will continue and tell about the projects. Thank you.
Thanks, Gilad. Thanks, Gilad. So real quick, and as Maya noted earlier, this grant was awarded in June 2018. Really, some of the key objectives here were to improve the safety of conducting bridge inspections through the use of drones, reduce costs, and enhance efficiencies of the inspections. So some of the innovation elements of this project was combining drone capabilities with bridge engineering knowledge and computer tools like machine learning, artificial intelligence, and really developing an end-to-end solution there. Current status is we're in the final stages of the R&D as far as developing the drone methodologies, flight profiles, safety concerns, things of that nature. Developing the software on Manam's side as far as the application, the BIA. Manam's conducted 2 pilots in Israel, and there's a pilot bridge inspections underway here in Nevada as well. We're also in the marketing phase of this, where we take this grant and all the great work that was done on it and try to convert it to a commercial program where we can bring this out to clients across both countries and hopefully eventually further in automating bridge inspections. What we're really talking about here is using new tools, robotics, AI, advanced analytics, data visualization, reality modeling to do an end-to-end automation of a bridge inspection. And that starts with primarily using drones to collect the imagery and other data sets needed to build these models and inspect these assets, conducting the analysis, developing the insights, and then of course making recommendations back to the clients on the status of their status and condition of their assets, in this case the bridge. So we kind of look at the right side of this, the old way. This is sort of old, but it's quite frankly still the way it's done today in many cases. And it's not that other programs with drones haven't begun across the country. They have, and we're just part of that bigger solution as far as developing that. But you can see using cranes many times, having people climb on ropes, things of that nature to collect this data. Has some inherent safety concerns. It's also very arduous and requires the shutdown of lanes for extended period of time, and in some instances shutting down the entire bridge. Whereas the left panel, you can see the profile of the inspection of what tools you need to do the inspection is much, much smaller. In many cases, we're talking about a drone that may only be a foot or a couple of feet wide. So a very small profile, which in many instances either reduces the lane closures or and alleviates having to shut down an entire bridge. But it really starts with mission planning. A lot goes into that, being able to develop the specific flight profiles, automate those flight profiles so there's less human interaction in the process, where it can really become a repetitive and repeatable program for each individual bridge or inspection. Doing the 3D reality modeling, building out your model, pumping that into the bridge inspection application and doing the analysis, and then finalizing with the management model to manage all the data you've collected and be able to make that great value of that with your clients. And again, it really starts here. After all the data is collected, building out a 3D model that can be then dissected, if you will, into specific sections and parts and analyzed very very detailed manner. This is where the rubber hits the road, as we like to say, or maybe the rubber hits the bridge in this instance. This is where you're able to go down and do these very detailed inspections, categorize all this information, prioritize it, and some of the key benefits is primarily reducing economic impact and minimizing lane closures, and that's a big deal. You can imagine bridges shutting down lanes, or even an entire bridge to some areas, to all areas, has some level of economic impact. To metropolitan cities can be millions of dollars an hour if that's required. So any program that helps alleviate and reduce the lane closures and the bridge closures is going to reduce the economic impact on the community. Again, one of the natural benefits of drones is removing people from dangerous situations, and that's true in a lot of industries, and no different in the bridge inspection business. Again, climbing from ropes, hanging off of cranes, things of this nature, working with large machines has some natural dangers that are removed when using drones in most cases. And really just looking at a more efficient approach, and that's everything from doing a baseline model, reality model of a bridge, and then very detailed inspections, and then using that over time. One of the key elements of this entire program is dramatically improving the data that's collected, because the drones can get into very tight areas, can capture all the data at different angles and different perspectives, and you're really going to improve the data set you're able to deliver to the bridge inspection application, which is going to help eliminate human error, build accurate historical records, which then leads into being able to do very detailed analysis for change detection and monitoring. This part of the data program, if you will, can be automated over time with technologies like machine learning and artificial intelligence. And of course, creating that digital twin baseline to do all that from. One of the key elements of the bridge inspection application is not only being able to collect all this data, create a historical record, and so forth, but it's also assigning budgetary concerns to it. So if a entity, say Department of Transportation, happens to have a certain budget that they have to deal with, they can adjust their what they want to fix based off the priorities that are connected with the actual budgets they have allotted to them. The current status of the program is, again, the R&D work funded by BIRD has enabled our team to develop algorithm flight plans, pilot testing, new technology software, etc. I think that the most important thing that you should take from this is this program would never happen without the collaboration and funding of the BIRD Foundation. So the BIRD Foundation was able to help bring the two companies together, fund the project, and then and really get this thing off the ground. To date, MAB has completed 2 full surveys of 2 bridges in Israel. We currently have pilot programs underway here in Nevada, and we have some collaboration with NDOT here in the state of Nevada to help build out this program and hopefully create a lot of value for our own state here in Nevada, and then eventually others as well.
Mike, I think we're going to move. That was very helpful, and we're going to move on now to Nofar Hamrani, the collaboration manager and the International Collaboration Division of the Israel Innovation Authority. Thanks again, Mike and Gilad.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for talking so far, and thank you everyone here on the call. I'm really happy to introduce what we at the IA do besides the initial things that were already mentioned through the BIRD Foundation and the great work that they do that was just shared with you. So feel free to ask me questions. There's going to be a lot of information here. I'll try to make it quite simple, but there is a lot. So if you have questions, feel free to let me know. So the Israel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Israel Innovation Authority, then the kind of international partners that we have and we can have, and then our international collaboration programs. So just to start with the basic structure, the way we operate is we are a government entity, and we try to support the different needs of any Israeli company doing R&D, okay, that's trying to do research and development for technology or otherwise. And we do that for all stages of development for any kind of company, any sector. So we start from technological infrastructure, supporting it, even from collaboration with the universities for basic research, then to startups, so encouraging a lot of startup companies, even just entrepreneurs by themselves. So we have that. Growth, meaning that helping tech firms to grow in Israel. So becoming from a startup to a full company in Israel. Then we even deal with advanced manufacturing, helping kind of digitalize and make manufacturing in Israel more technological. Societal challenges is things that we deal with overall in Israel and outside of Israel. And then what we do in the International Collaboration Division that I'm part of is kind of helping all of these divisions, all these stages, but facing outwards with international collaborations. So the international partners, partnerships that we have and we can have, and I know it will be relevant for all of you because I think you all fit into at least one of these. So first of all, we work with industry. So companies or corporates in different size, different sectors. I know we have quite a few here today. With academia, with research institutes or universities, then with other government entities on bilateral programs, so government offices in the federal level, in the state level, municipalities, also for investors, so any kind, if it's investment of different companies or if it's VCs or any angel investors, even so any kind. And then even with any other organization, we try to work with everyone. So we work also with different institutions and different organizations, and I will show you some of these examples soon. So how can you become a partner? If you want to work with IIA, there are several ways you can do that. So you can do it either through an investment mechanism or as an R&D partner for research, development, pilot, subcontracting. Okay, so there are a lot of those. Or you can be an observer or a partner in a consortium that tries to work on R&D for a specific challenge. So again, I will explain all of these now. So if you are an academic institution, if you're a research institution or a university, and you want to work with IIA, you have two ways to work with us that we kind of foster the academia and industry international collaboration. So first of all, if you are a research institute or university, you can work with an Israeli company. That's option number one here. There are two things that you can do. First of all, if an Israeli company wants to acquire some of your knowledge, IP that you already developed, we help with international tech transfer. So the IIA would actually give money to Israeli companies to help them pay you to get your knowledge. We use that in cases where there is knowledge developed in other institutes outside of Israel that the Israeli company wants to take and commercialize and actually use it for industrial R&D and take it forward. So we have that. In addition, for every project that an Israeli company does that we fund, you can also be a subcontractor in. So if an Israeli company has a project and they want you as their subcontractor to help them with the project, then the money that we give to them, they can use that to give to you guys. So that's the first option. Second option is a top-down consortium. So consortium, is a group of industry and research partners, can pretty much include anyone, depends on the consortium, and in very different fields, but the fields are kind of stated up front. So any of you can join these consortiums. You can join in self-funding or as an active partner, or as an observer. So you have all these options. I will show the next slide has a lot of information on it, but it's just an example. So you'll know about the consortia that we already have in this year and for next year. So if it's in gene editing, agriculture, communication, quantum, materials, things like that. So we really go through different sectors. And if you're interested in being involved in one of those, you can always join. So if you want to get involved with startups in Israel and an investment mechanism, we have open innovation private-public partnerships that the IA does. So we have incubators and innovation labs that we put money in, but we also have private entities that put money in as well. So the difference is basically that incubators are for a seed stage investment, that's kind of supporting and reaching the next fundable milestone. And our innovation labs is for stages of like POC of proof of concept with industry leaders guidance and technological infrastructure. So you can join any of these options, and I will share with you some of the ones that we already have. So we have 19 incubators, and you can see our shareholders here. So in all of these 19 incubators, the IA puts money as well, but then we have different organizations that put money as well. So if you see IBM, Johnson & Johnson, Motorola, different entities that we have here, these are just an examples. And you can see a lot of them come from abroad and actually choose to participate and put money in those incubators in collaboration with us. The point of this is that we kind of share the risk, right? So it's not just you guys put money in it, but we put government money in it, and we actually examine closely to not risk it for nothing. So it kind of helps you manage your risk. In terms of incubators that just opened in 2020, so we're trying to do that in not in Central Israel. So we have these 3, the new ones. And in terms of innovation labs, we also have a few of those in different sectors. So automotive, smart infrastructure, industry 4.0, food tech, sustainability, finance security. We have new ones. We have an open call now for P4IQ. If you want to invest and join one of these, you can actually join the new one that's going to start on AI and pharma, and the next one that's going to start in bioconvergence. So even here, you can see the wide variety of partners we have, MasterCard and Nell. You can see a lot of big names here of people of companies that choose to join and put money in as well. So that was for startups. If you want to work with growing Israeli companies, so let's say you don't want to deal with like the starting the siege fund, the siege part, and you want to work with growing Israeli companies that have more experience, you can always be a subcontractor. So any of you, it doesn't matter if you're a research institute, if you're a company, you can always be a subcontractor for any Israeli company's project. As I said, Israeli company that's funded by the IIA can have you as a subcontractor and even use the funds provided by the IA to pay you guys. That's part of what we consider as part of the budget. For advanced manufacturing, if any of you is interested in opening a factory in Israel, we have a new program with the Investment Authority and Innovation Authority, kind of creating from development to production program to help anyone, any foreign entity to establish a factory in Israel. I don't know how relevant it is for you. So, so just so you know, we actually help with putting funds, with helping sharing the risk and reduce corporate tax, things like that. So know that this is an option as well. And if you're interested in any of these, obviously you can contact me for more details. For the international human capital development, part of the societal challenges that we deal with, we actually provide foreign tax experts visas. We help, Israel is the only country that can provide a visa in 6 days. A working visa for someone that comes to work in high tech in Israel is issued in 6 business days. That's the fastest that I've known of. If you know of anything else, please let me know. I'd be very curious. So this is something that we do, and if that's something that's relevant for you, know that we have that option as well. In terms of tech for societal challenges outside of Israel, we have the Grand Challenges Israel program, where we fund projects, R&D projects and products specifically designed to solve international societal challenges. And we're always looking for R&D and implementation partners for these projects. So if that's something that interests you, we can talk about this as well. Now let's talk to you a little bit about the actual tools that I think would be relevant for you in terms of the International Collaboration Division. Again, that's the division that I represent. So as you can see, we work with almost all countries around the world, and we're separated based on that. We can work with anyone. For you, obviously, we would focus in terms of the US and Nevada specifically. So the tools that we have are three of those. So there's the foundations, we have joint R&D, and we have pilot cooperation. And besides that, we do a lot of business development as roadshows that we used to do before COVID, but now we do it online. We do partner matching. So let's say you're looking for an Israeli company and you need help, you don't know how to find them, so we can help you with finding the right partner. We do that for free. There's just one form that you need to fill, submit, and then we help you and we'll give you a list of suggested company according to what you're looking for. If it's through our tools or not, we don't mind. If you just want to contact an Israeli company in a certain field, we'd be happy to help you with that. We do seminars. We have different opportunities besides that we have, but I think maybe less relevant for you guys. And also Horizon 2020 that we participate in, but that's a European program, so again, less relevant for you. And these kind of joint programs usually done in calls for proposals, so kind of similar to what Bert described when we issue a call for proposal, and then companies can submit to any of those. So again, I'll dive in a little bit for each one of these. So in terms of the foundations, we have 4 of these with the US, BIRD, we have Korea, Singapore, and India. BIRD, I'm not going to talk about it more because you've already heard all about BIRD and the great work that they do, so know that that's one of the options. The other option that we have is bilateral cooperation for R&D and pilots. So we have about 70 bilateral agreements with federal and local governments from all levels of government, where we basically say that for any R&D or pilot project between an Israeli entity and a foreign entity, we would help fund it bilaterally. So if, let's say, an Israeli company wants to work with a company from Nevada, and they want to do it together, the Israeli company can apply to us, the Nevada company would apply to whatever entity from your side that we would decide on if we do something like that. And then if the project is approved by both sides, we would fund up to 50% of the Israeli company, and you would fund up to 50% or whatever your criteria would be for the company from Nevada. So we do that with about 70 different governments around the world. The point is to fund the joint projects and encourage that. And that usually happens according to joint call for proposals and can be for early R&D or for pilot stages. I'll give you some examples of things that we have that might hit closer to home in the US. So for example, we did something like that with New York State regarding smart cities. The call for proposal just closed. And in this case, it was for Israeli companies to do pilot projects in municipalities in New York State. So that's been a great success so far, and we're waiting to see the results. Space Florida is another one of these bilateral cooperations that we have with Florida. In this case, we focus on space and aviation. Now we're expanding it a little bit, but again, this is a yearly call for proposals for Israeli companies to work with companies from Florida and get funding from both governments. With Indiana, we also have one that is more general. So in this one, there's no specific sector that we focus on, unlike with New York State and Florida as we did so far. So in this case, any company from Indiana, any company from Israel can decide to work together on whatever project they want. Obviously, it all goes through reviews and everything is very technical and official, but at the end, they can both get funding to do that. We also help with finding the partners for these. So let's say if an Israeli company is interested in one of these, let's say interested in working with a company in Florida regarding space and aviation, but they don't have the partner yet, we would help them find partners a lot of times with the helps of the economic missions around. So people like Moan that help us do this. So that's one of the tools. A second tool is pilots with selected organizations. So in this case, for example, I know the Transportation Commission is supposed to be on this call. So that's something that would be relevant to you and these kind of entities that are not necessarily like literal governments that we can work with directly. They don't need to put money. You just need to put in-kind resources. So if we work with selected organizations, again, could be anyone, we can go into the details later, but that means that companies, Israeli companies that want to pilot their projects, adapt them, their technologies to whatever your organization need, we can help do that, we can help fund it, and what the partner institution needs to do is support it through in-kind assistance. So it's basically, again, let's say, take for example, the Transportation Commission in Nevada and in Las Vegas. Let's say you want technologies to help, you want transportation technology, we put a call for proposal, get Israeli companies with the relevant technologies to solve your challenges, your needs. Then through a joint process, we select the companies, and then we would help fund them also up to 50% of their budget. And you don't need to fund them, you just need to help through in-kind assistance. Let's say, provide them the space, the labs, the data, whatever they need to execute the project, which is for you guys to solve the problems that you would put out. This program is, again, through a call for proposals. I'll give some examples. I know some of you know WaterStar. I know DRI and the Alabama Institute know them as well. WaterStar is an organization that we work with, and we're gonna do this pilot program. So again, this is a selected organization that we do this pilot program with, and that's gonna open in November. We do similar things with hospitals around the US. So Mayo Clinic, Jefferson, and Hartford. We do that with them as well. We also just have an open call for proposals, and we have Israeli companies doing pilot projects in these hospitals. We're also in discussion with Planet M in Michigan, also to do something for transportation technologies to pilot it in Michigan according to the needs that they would say. And then last but not least, I know there are also some corporations here, some MNCs, multinational corporations. There's also a program that we do for that. So if you want to work with Israeli companies on R&D or pilot projects, we help doing that by helping you guys, the MNCs, develop and access innovative Israeli technologies before they reach the market. And we help the Israeli companies also integrate into your work and into these markets that you operate in. So again, in this way, both of the IAA and the MNC commit to invest, but the IAA invests in literal money, and the MNC, as I mentioned, in terms of the selected organization, you usually just provide an in-kind assistance and doesn't need to give money to the company. We target tech-based MNCs, annual revenues of about $1.5 billion. Again, I know some of you might be related to that in terms of, especially for energy companies. That means that this kind of program requires an MOU with us, with the Israel Innovation Authority, which is pretty basic and easy to do. But then again, we can operate it based on call for proposals, or it could be open the whole year. I'll give you some example for that as well. So we work with Enel and SNAM, both energy MNCs, that we have Israeli companies submitting proposals, doing projects with them where we fund them, and SNAM and Enel just cover their own costs. In terms of things we have in the US, we have a lot more, but I'll just mention IBM, that we had some of this projects with that were pretty successful. So this is another way to work with us. So this is it from my side. I know, again, it was a lot of information. If you want to move forward on any of these opportunities, if you want to hear more, please contact us. If you scan this QR code, you'll get to my LinkedIn directly, or this email is for the North America desk at the Israel Innovation Authority. So you can reach out to it by either way, and I'd be more than happy to talk with you, and as Mohan said at the beginning, to really push forward and try to have more collaboration between Israel and Nevada.
Thanks very much, Nofar. I think that was very useful. Some specific examples that are obviously potentially more relevant for Nevada that I'm sure we'll follow up on. We are still within an hour, a little bit behind, but not too much. So we'll stay within the timeline. Open it up for questions. I did know that Pavel from GoEd wanted to make a comment and or a question. So maybe just turn it over to Pavel first, and afterwards, as Moran said, it's open for questions. I don't see any on the chat, but if anybody just wants to go ahead and speak once we have the initial comment from Pavel, please feel free. We have another 7 to 10 minutes to go anyway. So Pavel, any comments from you?
Yes, first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity and for our organizations and to meet with you. Excellent collaboration with the BERT Foundation, Israeli Innovation Authority, and of course, Consulate General in LA and your Israeli economic representation. But special thanks goes to Nevada Innovation Center, Nick with Nisim Ezekiel and Michael Salpander. Thank you very much for facilitating this. I believe what we are facing right now is that we have kind of the boost in the Nevada-Israeli relations. We are exchanging at this moment $200 million of goods and services, but when we are starting to count the number of projects we have, it's numerous. Sorona Ventures, Israeli high-tech startup, Evnon, Zen City, many other. Cyber security is there. WaterStart collaboration with IIC is going on, and when you look through it and through the right now opportunities, especially BERT and Israel Innovation Authority, I think we are very well positioned as Nevada to be kind of the soft landing spot for not only for the Israeli tech companies looking to enter the United States, but also what you mentioned, and this is the kind of the new avenue for us, is we can try to build together the joint R&D projects, and based on such an excellent organizations like our academia in the UNR or UNLV and other organizations. So let me just say that with Nisim Ezekiel, we already engaged into the talk that, of course, you mentioned about your kind of the tech mission, possible outreach. We are still planning. We really believe that we will be able to go with also our institutions and companies to Israel. It's this is only a delay process right now, but we had that in the first quarter of the next year, so maybe it will be a bit delay. But congratulations how you handled COVID-19. Very tech-based approach. It's a lot to learn from that, but just to all of us and all our institutions, we are right now awaiting another grant. We are calling this Step Export Promotion grant, and we will be actively searching for Nevada's companies which would like to visit Israel, and we really hope that with the Nevada Innovation Center, with ISC, with BERT Foundation, and with the your consulate in LA, we'll be able to partner. So a lot of opportunities. I wouldn't like to steal too much time, but there is a need to do such a meetings more often. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Pavel. Appreciate your comments. I'll just keep it open now. I don't see any specific questions on the chat, but anybody else who wants to either make a comment or ask a question to Maya and Nofar, please go ahead. Moran, I don't see any. Moran, do you see any on your screen? Any independent questions?
If anyone wants to ask questions, they need to unmute themselves and open the camera, or they can leave the camera off, or just use the chat. And if not, we will conclude the event.
Yeah, we're almost, for once, absolutely on time. Just a minute or two. But before we close, Moran, any final comments from you, and then we can close the meeting.
No, I think Maya, both Nofar and Maya shared a lot of valuable information that everyone needs to digest. It's a lot of information.
Right.
I think both of them shared their contact details, and feel free also to reach to Nisim and myself. We would love to, to share more information, and any questions that you have, we're here.
Right, and Michael Frechette and Gilad, thanks again, Michael, for the detailed presentation. I think it has a direct relevance to business transactions that have been facilitated in Nevada. And hopefully there'll be many of those, more of those too, both through the foundations and independently. So once again, at my end, basically, we're done. And we'll share additional information. Most of the people on this call do have NIC's contact information and so on. If anyone doesn't, I haven't put it up on the screen, but we can communicate directly and update that information. Finally, Moran, are you planning to put this up on for viewing later before we close? Just a final question.
Carlos, yeah, would you like to ask the question?
I don't think I.
We can hear you, Carlos.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't understand what Powell is asking.
I was just thinking that you were involved in already in several Israeli projects and through Nevada Innovation Center. So you are kind of the top front of the university commercialization. So just just like to hear from you a word about the potential collaboration, especially with the BERT and IAC.
Yeah, well, the collaboration with the Innovation Center is a continuous one. The collaboration with the Innovation Center is always an ongoing project. We are always looking for opportunities with the Israeli companies. I have contacted a lot of the companies that are incubating at UNR, so that they can be aware of this opportunity. I will work with Nissim closely after these presentations, so that we can start again engaging these companies and looking for opportunities. Also, if there is any opportunity for doing an Israeli company with the academic group at UNR, that's something that we're always open to.
Thanks very much, Carlos.
If I may say, I'd be happy to talk offline and see in which areas you're working, and because we have in the energy, in homeland security, in cyber, we have opportunities for research institutes to collaborate with companies. And once we figure out what kind of complementary technologies you're looking for, we can make introductions.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of matching that can be done. And again, Nissim was aware of a few of them. We were entertaining a company on cybersecurity, but I would love to have an opportunity to talk separately and see where the real match may come.
I'm going to write my email here in the chat, and I'd be happy to follow up.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Maya, I think we've come to the end of the time, and a very productive time, productive set of questions and presentations. I know each of us on this side, West Coast Mission, BIRD, IIA, ourselves, we know most of the people on the call, and looking forward to some more specific follow-up thereafter. But I appreciate everyone's collaboration and the large attendance from all of the key institutions on the Nevada side. So once again, personal thanks from Michael Saltman and me.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you, Nissim.
Okay, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.